Why do you suppose you lost both debates?
Oh, I think, listen, going into this debate, when I first challenged Nigel Farage, I was acutely aware of the fact that, firstly, I am making an argument that hasn't been heard for 20 years. You know, for 20 years, people like Nigel Farage and others have been merrily going around saying stuff, often totally fictional stuff, about our membership of the European Union, which just hasn't been challenged. So I'm not going to reverse 20 years of myth-making in 2 hours. And also, you know, Nigel Farage has a few very simple propositions which are understandably very attractive to people when many people are quite fearful and anxious about what's going on in the modern world. So when he says, we don't need to get entangled with problems elsewhere in the world. We don't need to allow any immigrants to come to this country. We can sort of do everything on our own. We can, disentangle ourselves from the Europe. I totally understand why people go, that's what I want. That doesn't mean, however, that I should stop from arguing what I believe to be right for the country in the long run. And I totally accept that what I might say might not be popular, clearly, as the polls have indicated overnight.
How bruised do you feel?
Oh, I don't feel bruised at all. I'm delighted we've had this debate because...
But you haven't... Well, you accept that it would appear... Well, wouldn't appear. The LBC won 57 plays 36 in favour of Mr Farage. Last night, 69 plays 31. Actually, more than double your score. You took a trouncing. You took a beating last night, didn't you?
No, I'm absolutely delighted we have this debate. The debate has now finally started. So, these were 2 hours of a debate which will now go on month in, month out. And as I say, David Cameron and Ed Miliband don't want to have this debate. They don't have the courage to actually say what they think. At least I have the courage to get up and say, this is what I believe, even though I know what I'm saying is not popular. I understand it's not popular to say, look, in the modern world, the idea that we can somehow say that people can't come to this country from elsewhere in the European Union to work, I understand that's not a popular thing to say these days. I understand, given all the myth-making around the European Union over the last 20 years, it's quite a challenge to contest those myths and those settled preconceptions. But I'm delighted that the debate has started because, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and this is the start of a long debate, and I will continue to say what I believe in, regardless of whether, this poll or that poll agrees with me or not.
How do you rate Nigel Farage as a bloke and as a debater?
I think he's a good debater, and he's got good, sort of straightforward lines which say, look, don't worry, the complexities of all of the world, we can just get rid of it all by just saying, to hell with the rest of the world. We're not going to be part of Europe. We're not going to bother about conflicts in Syria. We're not going to bother about conflicts in Ukraine. I understand that at a time of, and by the way, this is a phenomenon politically that you're seeing not just here in UKIP, but you're seeing it in Holland, in France, in Italy. There are people, there are populists from left and from right, who are saying to people that the complexities of the modern world can all be solved by turning our backs on the modern world. And I understand that's attractive, but I fervently disagree with it. And I'm not going to stop explaining what I believe in because I think it's so important for the long-term benefit of the country. Because otherwise what you do is you end up just basically sitting on your hands like the other party leaders are doing. And I think that really is a pretty weak thing to do.
And if your life depended on having a pint with either him or David Cameron, with whom would you drink your pint?
I have plenty of friends, thankfully, outside politics to have pints with, and they're the people I'll have a pint with.
And just lastly, with David Cameron on this, is this now a red line? Come 2015, if there were talks about a repeat of the coalition, which of course you will point to has achieved so much in the years that you've been in power.
Indeed.
How much would the red line be, the idea of an EU renegotiation that David Cameron is so keen on?
Well, I think David Cameron's renegotiation, I still don't quite understand what it's supposed to be all about. So it's
a red line come 2015?
To be honest, I think the more I've heard about, or at least what I've read in the newspapers about the Conservative plans, it's a little tweak here, it's a little tweak there. I don't think it'll satisfy anybody within the Conservative Party, many of whom actually agree with Nigel Farage that they want to leave the European Union altogether. That's why, frankly, regardless of what you think about this debate, at least there was an honest debate last night between two people who have very different but clear views.
So it's not a bump in the road come 2015?
Well, as I say, I talked to Karen earlier, was asking about should we reform the European Union. I believe in reform. What I don't believe is a realistic prospect is to kind of do what I think David Cameron initially suggested, which is to repatriate a bunch of powers. In other words, to say we'll only keep the good bits, but we'll let everybody else in the European Union keep the bad bits. I've never thought that's a realistic proposition.